Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move today. We are joined by Bloomberg's Valerie Teitel on a morning when a lot of big names have been reporting earnings before the opening bell and before we hear from Tesla after the close. Let's start with Northrop Grumman, a pretty big miss here. Good morning.
Yeah, pretty big miss from the defense company in Northrop. The shares are down over 8% so far in the pre-market. Now, this is one of the leading aerospace and defense companies based out of Virginia. They have lowered their full year guidance after their first quarter earnings came in nearly half of what was expected. They did, however, reaffirm their 2025 guidance for sales. Maybe that's keeping the stock somewhat supported, but we are in the red for Northrop, down 8.25% after their first quarter earnings came in nearly half of what was expected.
And we also heard from GE Aerospace, formerly known as, I guess, just GE. What's the latest there?
A bit more of a positive spin. GE is up 1.6% in the pre-market trade after first quarter profits came in better than expected. They affirmed their full year outlook and expected profits and sales to grow this year. The guidance also takes into account tariffs, but does not assume further escalation or a global recession, and runs counter to some of the bigger aviation companies that have been rattled by trade war fears in the last few weeks. That's GE Aerospace on the upside, 1.6%.
And we got some interesting results from 3M this morning, coining a new phrase when it comes to impact of tariffs.
Yeah, this is 3M. The shares are down nearly 1% in pre-market trade. They've coined a new phrase called tariffs sensitivity. Nathan, they see a 2025 adjusted EPS tariff sensitivity of around 20 cents a share to 40 cents a share. It's really remarkable. Someone's able to quantify the impact. Really quite fascinating. But 3M is a big U.S. exporter, so they are particularly vulnerable to retaliation. They did maintain their full year guidance and also beat on adjusted EPS and sales numbers. That's 3M in the red, sinking a bit further, down 1.25%.
Steering a little bit away from earnings this morning, some solar stocks are getting your attention as well.
Yeah, that's right. Some of these U.S. solar stocks really gaining in the pre-market. First Solar up 7.3%. Also, Solar Edge up 3.7%. These are American manufacturers of solar panels. This comes after the U.S. finalized plans to impose steep tariffs on most solar cells imported from Southeast Asia on Monday. Now, this is important because it's an aim at China after China established factories across Southeast Asia in order to bypass previous tariffs. China currently dominates around 90% of the solar supply chain. So these U.S. manufacturers of solar stocks getting a gain in the pre-market.
And let's talk about Tesla, see how they're doing before they report their results after the close today.
Well, they're rebounding a bit. Tesla is up nearly 1% after it slid around 6% yesterday. It was the biggest decliner in the S&P 500 actually yesterday, Nathan. This is coming right before they are announcing earnings after the bell tonight, after an analyst, Dan Ives at Wedbush Securities, said that Tesla is facing a code red moment as it prepares for these first quarter earnings released later today.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.